One day, James had to wait at the station till Edward and his train came. This made him cross. Late again. Edward laughed, and James fumed away. After James had finished his work, he went back to the yard.
You'll collect any unclear later on, Mr. James, said his driver. I'll collect them even later, Thomas, gasped James.
He was still feeling very bad-tempered. Edward is impossible, he grumbled to the others. He cranks about like a lot of old iron, and he is so slow he makes us wait. Thomas and Percy were indignant. Old iron? Slow? Why, Edward could beat you in a race any day. Really? Said James. I should like to see him do it. Next morning, James's driver was suddenly taken ill. He could hardly stand, so the fireman uncoupled James ready for shunting.
Ready to let the other troublesome trucks.
Oh dear, he thought. I wonder how long I shall have to stay in the shed. Will anyone see my red coat again? Why did I go so fast that I made a hole in one of my coaches that had to be mended with, of all things, a passenger's bootlace? At last Sir Topham had arrived. I know you are sorry, James, he said, and I know too that you want to be a useful engine. People are laughing at my railway, and I do not like
yes,
that
sir.
at all.
Excuse me,
I
sir.
will try hard to do my best, said James. That's a good engine. There's nothing like determination. I want you to pull some freight cars for me. James was delighted.
I will pull any Clarabelle later on, gasped James.
Here is your freight train, James, said Thomas.
And you'll pull your coaches later.
Have you got some bootlaces ready? And he ran off laughing. Oh, said the freight cars. We want a proper engine, not a red monster. James took no notice and started as soon as the conductor was ready. Come along, he puffed. We won't, screamed the freight cars. But James didn't care, and he pulled the screeching...
I'll pull my coaches in a little bit, gasped James.
The cars tried hard to make him give up, but he still kept on. Sometimes their brakes would slip on, and sometimes their axles would run hot, and each time the trouble had to be put right. And each time James would start.
That is too many troublesome trucks for me, James.
To let them beat him. Give up, you can't pull us. You can't call the cars.
Doc was pulling the troublesome truck. Doc was pulling the freight cars. And later, Doc was pulling the coaches.
Look out for trouble, James warned his driver. We'll go fast and get them up before they know it.
Don't go faster than me.
So James went faster, and soon they were halfway up. I'm doing it, he panted. Will the top never come? Then, with a sudden jerk, I've done it, he puffed. Hooray! It's easy now. But his driver shut off steam. They've done it again. We've left our tail behind. Look, the last cars were running backwards down the hill.
That's right, James said, Gordon.
But the conductor stopped the cars and got out to warn approaching engines. That's why it was easy, said James, as he backed the other cars carefully down.
Be careful with the coaches, James,
said the conductor. Shall I help you, James? Called Edward. No, thank you.
No, thank you, Edward, said James.
Myself. Good. Don't let them beat you. You're doing well, whistled Edward, as James slowly struggled up the hill.
Not yet, Edward, gasped James.
I can do it, he puffed. He pulled and puffed as hard as he could. I've done it, done it, he panted. They reached their station safely, and James was resting in the yard when Edward pulled up. Beep, beep, he whistled. Then, James saw Sir Topham Hatt.
We'll now push Toby and Henrietta. Right now, Mr. James. One day in Teletubbies land, Henry was pulling the coaches. And the Teletubbies were riding Henry, so Topham Hatt was riding Henry too. Mr. Lawrence in Kent. I am pulling Henrietta, gasped Toby. I am pushing you, gasped Henrietta. James was pulling. One day in Arizona, James was pushing Toby and Henrietta while pulling the coaches. One day in last Birdie was racing after Thomas. The Teletubbies were racing after Thomas too. And Bertie saw Trevor pulling a hay cart. Trevor is a very old tractor, gasped Annie and Clarabelle. That's garbage, James said Bob's friends at top act. This goes in the garbage, James, said Bertie. Be careful with the coaches, James, gasped Toby. That's okay, James. I'm sorry, too. Said Duck. And James was pulling the express coaches. Bill and Ben, the Tingagen trains, were pulling the freight cars. One day on the episode, our Diesel was pulling the troublesome trucks, also known as foolish freight cars.
Bill pretended to be frightened. You're a big bully, he whimpered. You'll be sorry.
And Loco was pulling the freight cars too. I am Julia gasped Boko. Let's Terrence the track to do song fit baby.
His wheels were clear.
One day on the island of Sodor, and Terrence was plowing the snow. All the Douglas were plowing the snow too.
Thank you, Terence. Your caterpillars are splendid, said Thomas.
The Teletubbies were riding Gordon, so Tom and Ann was riding Gordon too. That's too many trolls and trucks for me, James, gasped Gordon. Keep your head on, sir, said Gordon. And Gordon passed through Edward Station. And the Teletubbies were riding Gordon up and down the branch. Chicago was riding Gordon up and down the branch too.
What has happened to me? asked Gordon. I feel so weak.
Harold is here, gasped James.